jump in the shade. The shade when I jump in the lake. When I jump in the lake. Yes, sir. Say something. Do something. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. What up, what up, what up? Mm-hmm. What's going on, guys? Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Can you guys hear me? Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Can you guys hear me? Just making sure. All right. Mm-hmm. Good. All right, we in the house. Good. Hello, Jillian, dear. How are you? Ian, what's up, brother? Sully Cell, how you doing, brother? What's up, Jay? All right. Prime Amari Stoudemire. He could be a top 10 player today. We're talking about a dude who was first team All-NBA. Absolutely. He could be a top 10 player today. No doubt about it. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Westbrook is not the problem in Los Angeles, man. We need to get to the bottom of the Lakers have a slew of problems, and Westbrook isn't the only thing. They have a whole lot of problems. A whole lot of problems that we got to get to the bottom of. They got a toughness issue. They got a rebounding problem. They got a defensive problem. They got a transition defensive problem. They got a turnover problem. They got a post-scoring problem. They got a rotation problem. They got a lot of problems that need to be dealt with. And Russell Westbrook is not the only thing wrong with them. They got 10 new guys, man. 10 of them. So they got an X and O problem. They got a bunch of different issues. Russell Westbrook is not going to, if you move Russell Westbrook, that's not going to fix their problems. It's not going to do that. No. Well, he does know what he's doing, Julian. The problem that we having is that, you know, he got 10 new guys. So it's going to take a minute to figure out this rotation. It's not like they brought back the entire unit from last year. They didn't do that. And add that to the fact that, you know, we're running a completely different offense now. A completely different offense. So we got to get to the bottom of that too. We got to get to the bottom of that too. So I think Jason Kidd was better than Kyle Lowry, and I do think that he would mesh really well with the Miami Heat. I don't know if they win in the championship, no question, but you know, I think Milwaukee will have something to say about that. I think the Bulls will have something to say about that. But I do think that he would mesh well with them. I think he'd be an upgrade at the point guard spot. I do think that, no doubt. Mm-hmm. The reason why Wilt Chamberlain doesn't get talked about enough in the GOAT conversation is one reason and one reason only. His numbers, they're cartoonish. So people discredit him because they can't believe that somebody was actually doing that, when in reality, yeah, he was. That was going on. Jillian, absolutely, he could be playing better. And he was supposed to be, I mean, you just said it yourself. You just answered your own question, Jillian, that that's why they brought him in there, to be that guy who, number one, continued to keep them at a championship level. And when James retired, which is in the next, I think, 2 to 3 seasons, they were going to make that transition with him being the guy and building it around him. So it doesn't look like it's working out that way. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he doesn't really want to play in the post. He wants to do the other stuff. Like he's been a good rebounder. He's been an elite rim protector in the past, but the other stuff, that requires being a legit big, he doesn't seem like he wants to do that. And that's going to be a problem going forward, especially considering they need him in order to win. They absolutely need him. If he's not playing, they're not going to win. Right, Juan. You look at Wilt's numbers and you're like, get the hell out of here. Nobody was doing that. Like, nobody really grabbed 55 boards in the game. That didn't happen. Actually, it did. You know, nobody went 65 and 40 in a game. No, that didn't happen. You can't believe there has to have been something wrong with the competition. This dude could not have been that good, only except, yeah, he was. Yeah, he was, because nobody else was doing that. Nobody. It's not like he was doing it and other guys were doing it. Other guys were doing similar things. Nobody was doing what he was doing. I don't know if it's a mentality, man. I really don't. I think that the issue that we're having with Anthony Davis is that he seems to be playing himself out of position. This is where we think you'd be great. And his mentality is, I don't want to do that. This is where I think I'd be great. When in reality, when you guys won the NBA championship, this is where you were great. Playing around the basket, in transition, running the floor, rim protecting, shot blocking. That's where you were at your best. So, you know, when I think about him as a force, like I said, I had Anthony Davis as a top 5 player, and I still think he can be that. I still believe that he could be that. Yes, they do, Robbie. Absolutely, they do. When he's around the basket, when he's rim protecting, when he's defending, when he's running the floor, you know, he's got that mid-range game, but that mid-range game opens up everything else for him in the post, where he's at his best. Well, the problem that we're having, Juwan, with him not wanting to play down there is that he's a finesse big. That's the problem. We're talking about a dude who he went, I believe it was from 10th grade to 12th grade. He went from 6'2" to 6'10". So he's really a 6'2" guy in a 6'10 guy's body. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to play like the 6'2" guy. He doesn't want to play like the 6'10 guy. And it's almost like we're making him do that. I'm not going to even watch that. I'm trying to figure out why he's even getting in the ring to do something like that. I saw what happened with Nate Robinson. I'm thinking, yo, boxing is not a game. Boxing is serious. Boxing is a sport, no question about it, but it's serious. And you better know what you're doing when you get in there. Convince me why Jason Kidd is a better pure point guard than John Stockton. I'm interested. Hold on for a second, guys. I'm very interested to hear this. I'm going to get with y'all in a second. Hang on. Convince me why he's a better pure point guard. I'm going to get with you guys in a second. Just hang on. Okay, he made first team All-NBA 5 times. Stockton made it twice. Okay, keep going. Jason Kidd went to the finals twice, being the number 1 option. He was not the number 1 option on that. on that Nets team. No, he was not. That would be Kenya Martin. He was the number one option on that team. Jason Kidd was the most important player. Jason Kidd wasn't the top scorer on that team. He averaged 16 a game. Who's averaging 16 a game with their team going to the NBA championship? Who's doing that? So that deads that. That's not true. 2 as a number 2, though. So Jason Kidd's been to the NBA Finals 3 times. Stockton was a better distributor. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. You haven't convinced me. No, you didn't. So, well, I don't think you convinced me. He isn't. He did make the first team all. He did make all first team All NBA 5 times. Stockton made it twice. Now, I do have to take under consideration that Magic was running around when Stockton was playing, and that's a little bit difficult. Oh, you didn't know that, Steady? Anthony Davis, I believe from I think it's either 10th grade or 11th grade. Anthony Davis went from 6'2" to 6'10" in a 9-month span. Yes, sir. That's a fact. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, absolutely, Albie. I'm straight. Mm-hmm. I think we have to, like when you ask questions like who's better, Zach Levine or Jason Tatum, I think we have to distinguish the difference between who's a better player and who's playing better. Is Zach Levine a better player than Jason Tatum? I don't think so. I think he's playing better than Jason Tatum. Absolutely. I don't think he's a better player than Jason Tatum, though. No, I don't. I do not. I disagree with you on your Iguodala being the 2015 Finals MVP take, OG. I think it should have went to Steph. I think that they did it based on the job that he did on James. Now, I know James's numbers look astronomical, but, holding him to under 40% in, I think, 5 of those 6 games, and I think he averaged 18 a game. I mean, you take, and not only that, Steve Kerr playing him off the bench and then putting him into the starting lineup. That was even bigger. Steph scored the most. I won't fight that. But who was more important? Was it Steph or was it Iguodala? Because if we go in bucket for bucket, Steph couldn't match James during that time. He couldn't do it. James is averaging almost 40 a game in that finals. He couldn't. Iguodala did a good job at slowing him. I know that sounds ridiculous to say slowing him down, but he did a good job in making it difficult on James. I don't think Curry could have done that. That's a simple question, Michael. Who do you think is better? Dame is playing like trash right now. He is. He's not playing very well. Trey actually looks really good. It's just that Atlanta team, they're not sneaking up on anybody. They're not very good, but Trey still looks really good. He looks really good. Sean, I will tell you this. I think the clock is ticking on Vogel. I do think that. How good was Kevin Johnson? I'm thinking about a point guard in today's game. He was better than Kyle Lowry. I think so. I think he was better than Kyle Lowry. I'm thinking about the point guards in today's game. I think he was better than Kyle Lowry. I think he was better than – I can't say he was better than Trae Young, but he was just as good. He wasn't as good as Dame. He wasn't as good as Irv. He would definitely be a top 10 point guard today. No doubt. I think so. I got Jason Kidd at 4. Hey, Steady, I'm not just agreeing with Jillian because I like her content, but that ain't ridiculous with what she's talking about. That's not ridiculous. The Lakers could miss the playoffs. And I can appreciate, James is not going to let that happen. That chemistry with that group right now, that mixture of guys that they have, they can't keep going the way they're going. If they keep going this way the entire season, it's a realistic possibility that they can miss the playoffs. They got blown out last night. Smoked. It's not ridiculous to think that they could miss the playoffs. That is not. BOP, what up, brother? How you doing? I think that I personally think KD, he threw a monkey wrench in a lot of guys' legacies. He definitely did. I don't know if the Warriors win the championship again, if they don't get KD, because I think that Cleveland team, after they had beaten them 3-1, I think that they would have turned into a freight train with no brakes. And I think that they would have went on a serious run. I don't think Irv leaves. I think that they stay together, and I think that they win one. I think that they win one more, maybe even 2. Absolutely. I think the logic with KD, with the Warriors was, you can't beat him without us, and we can't beat him without you. We can't do it. Cyborg, you talking about top 75. I'm surprised he wasn't top 50. When I saw the top 50 list, I was thinking, Alex English ain't a top 50 player all time in the NBA. Are you serious? The problem that we have in Jillian with that Trailblazer team is, and I've said this before, and I stand on it. The problem that we have with that Trailblazer team is that Trailblazer team is the 2018-19 Trailblazer team that went to the Western Finals. Only except everybody else got better. They did not improve. They still that same team. They're the same mixture of guys, and they did not get better. The same mixture of guys. And with the new rules being implemented, with now having to play through contact and teams improving, I think a lot of that had to do with why the Trailblazers are stagnant right now. Alex English wasn't a great defender. No, he was not. He was not a great defender. The Blazers did just have a big win in Chicago. Yeah, they did. Absolutely. However, and I said this before the season started, I wouldn't be surprised if the Trailblazers didn't make the playoffs. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. Not the way they playing now, Steady. I know it sounds ridiculous, but not the way they playing right now, my man. The way they playing right now, it is not ridiculous to think that this team might not make the playoffs. That is not ridiculous to think. It's not. And they're getting beat in the areas that they shouldn't get beat in. They're getting outworked on the backboard. I mean, they gave up 51 rebounds last night. 51. They're turning the ball over. Now, I do remember when Russ got to Houston, he had a slow start. When Russ got to Washington, he had a slow start. So it's going to take a second, right? It's going to take a second for him to get acclimated to what they're doing. But This isn't something that, there's a huge window open. No, it's not. It's not a huge window opening at all. Mm-mm. I don't think that them missing the playoffs would tarnish James's legacy. I don't think so at all. Mm-mm. That ain't ridiculous, Cyborg. No, that's not ridiculous at all. Because again, we got rotation issues. We having all kinds of issues. We having X and O issues. Absolutely. Now, hold on, Steady. I didn't say that they weren't making the playoffs. What I'm saying is that I don't think it's ridiculous to think that they could miss the playoffs. The way they playing right now, it's not ridiculous to think that they'll miss the playoffs. I ain't saying that they're not making the playoffs. So that is not ridiculous. It's crazy you say that, Ultra, because 2 nights ago when they played against Milwaukee, he had 19 and 15. Russell Westbrook is the only guy that we hold to that standard. Like you'll say something like he had 19 and 15 a couple of nights ago and 3 turnovers. He's 19, 8 and 8 on the season. But we looking at Russ like, yo, you suck. Ow. I don't think a 5th ring changes anything with Giannis. I mean, not Giannis, with James. Not with me, it doesn't, but it does elevate his status. It just elevates the myth. That's all. No, I don't think so, Jillian, because Memphis has to be a top. They got to be they got to be in the top 5 in the Western Conference, maybe even in the top 3, and in order for him to be in the conversation, to actually win the league MVP. Actually, Russ does win you games because when I think about that Washington team last year, that Washington team did not make the playoffs the year before. And Russ started off slow, and they got into the playoffs off the strength of Russ. And I'm not a huge Russ fan. Let's make sure we 100% clear on that. I'm not a huge Russ fan. However, the things that Russ does, that part right there, Russ stat pads, I can't stand hearing that. And the reason why I can't stand hearing that is strictly because if he's stat padding, that means that the other guys, they're stat padding too. His stuff translates to wins. Russell Westbrook has been in the playoffs, I think, every year since he's been a starter. They've been in the playoffs. I don't think he missed the playoffs 1 year. Calling him a stat padder means that the things that he does doesn't equate to wins. That's not true. He didn't stat pad the year that he won the league MVP. Without him, they would have been at the bottom of the league. I don't know if the Bulls can make the finals because I don't think they're better than Milwaukee. I don't. I do. Once Milwaukee get healthy, I don't think the Bulls better than them. And I love the Bulls. They got one of the. I know that my questions were about their defense. They got one of the 3 best defensive teams in the game since I've been watching them, and I love what they're doing. Once Vooch gets himself acclimated to what they're doing, I think that they can make a run to the Eastern Conference Championship. I don't think they can beat Milwaukee though. I don't. 2K, what's up, brother? How you doing? Running good. I don't think that there's anything he can do, Steady, because when I think about James as a player, I think about I don't play video games, but from what I understand, and I think we had this conversation already. There's a 2K and a PlayStation group. There's the Palestinians and the Protestants. You got You got people who will always be Jordan guys that will never come off of that fence. They will never come on the other side of that fence, no matter what. It doesn't make a difference. So even if it was shoved in their face. So over the next 2 years, James is at 35,000 points. Over the next 3 seasons, if James were to get to 39,000, 40,000 points over the next 3 seasons, right? This dude gets to 40,000 points over the next 3 seasons, and he gets into the top 5 assist men of all time, and he ends up in the top 10 rebounding. With 4 championships, 4 league MVPs, and 4 finals MVPs. I'm telling you, there'll still be people that'll be like, no, he ain't better than Jordan. And the reason why that's going on is because I've said this to you in the past. There are people that are my age and older who aren't ready to have that conversation. And the reason why they're not ready to have that conversation is because 30 years ago, when we were talking about the guys that are all-time greats today, 30 years ago, we couldn't imagine not talking about them dudes. So if we have to seriously start talking about these guys today, like we talked about those guys 30 years ago, that means that some of those guys got to get moved. And if they get moved, that means that they may very well be forgotten. And people my age and older don't want to have that conversation. They do not. I'm down to, I've already mentioned, I'm down to have that conversation. I got no problem having that conversation. You're going off Russell Westbrook right now. You know Russell Westbrook. Come on, man. He's in year 14. Not only is he in year 14, he's on a team. GK. This is what I want you to do. I need you to tell me, because you sound ridiculous with the notion that he's not a superstar. You do. What's really your problem with Russ? Let's get to the bottom of that. Let's get to the bottom of what is your real problem with Russ, because it ain't about him. About the Lakers record right now. That has nothing to do with it, because you've always had a problem with Russ. What's your real problem with him? He came into the league in 2009. Mm-hmm. Was it 08? No, he came in. Yeah, I think he came in the same year that Westbrook came in, because they got James Harden in 09. So he came in 08. Mm-hmm. So we're going into year 14. Well, take it a step further than that, Jillian. I think DeRozan, you can make an argument that he's a top 5 player right now. You can make that argument that DeRozan is a top 5 player right now. And there would be some validity to it. You can definitely make the argument that DeRozan is a top 5 player right now. Well, GK, that's not true, man. What about that Oklahoma City team that went to the playoffs in 16-17 when they lost KD? What about that team? They made the playoffs off the strength of Russ. Is that not fair? Or am I ridiculous in saying that? What's up, Mike? What's up, MK? What's up, MDK? How you doing, brother? No, I'm not saying that. His 2017 MVP season is the same player as today. That was 5 years ago. No, I'm not saying that. You saying that. What would I change about the Lakers? Well, one of the things that needs to change is that they need to get tougher. That's what they need to do. They need to get tougher. Not to mention, we need to get some continuity on offense. We need to establish what we're doing defensively. James and Russ need to play more so they can get on the same page, because that could work. I mean, it worked with Irv, so it could work with James too. So there's a number of different things that need to that need to change with that Laker team, a number of different teams. Over the 14 years, what has Russ added to his game, especially three-point shooting? That can add another dimension he needs to add to his game. I think Russ is who he is. I'm not gonna fight that. I think Russ is who he is. I don't think that's a question. I think Russ is who he is, but I think that he's been the player that he is because of his skill set. I think that he's been the player that he is because of his ability to play make, his ability to score the basketball, his ability to rebound. All of those things make him the elite player that he is. No doubt about that. Yeah, Chris, Irv to Russ. Irv was ball dominant. Absolutely, he was. Russ is Irv dominant. Russ is ball dominant. I'm sorry. Russ is ball dominant. And not only is Russ ball dominant, Russ is a better distributor. Now, I think Irv might be a little bit smarter, but in terms of an overall player, they both needed the basketball. And James was able to incorporate himself into what those guys were doing. And it seems like that's going to take the difference with Russ is the difference with Russ and Irv is Irv was younger. So James knew he had time with Irv as opposed to, Russ is who he is. We in year 14, so there's not a lot of time to get this thing figured out. The window is real short. Absolutely. It's interesting, man, that you talk about Russ like you talk about him now in year 14. Was you talking about Russ like this in year 10? Were you doing that? Were you talking about Russ like this 3 or 4 years ago? Because I'm not a big fan of Russ, but you talk about him like he's whack. And that's so disrespectful. That is so whack to me. We're talking about a dude as a point guard who averaged double-digit rebounds and double-digit assists. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. I think it's more the basketball IQ than the high turnover volume. I think the high turnover volume is a result of his basketball IQ. And Russ makes a lot of head scratching plays where you're thinking, what were you thinking right there? Why would you take that there? So we just got finished talking about this, GK. We have to distinguish who's playing the best and who's the best player. Steph Curry is playing the best. I don't think Steph Curry is the best player in the NBA. No, I do not. I think he's playing the best. Absolutely. No doubt about that. And I cannot and will not dispute that. No doubt. I don't think Zach Levine is better than Booker. And I wouldn't call you a biased Bulls fan, but I don't think Zach Levine is better than Booker. DJ, what's up, brother? How you doing? Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. They just look like a disjointed unit, Jonas. They just do. More than anything. Is a healthy Joel Embiid the best center in the game? I think so. I do. Yeah. I think that his ability to rebound the basketball, his ability to rim protect, when he gets into that dominant mode where he gets some plays on a block and he's looking to facilitate and he's just looking to dominate down low, I think he's the best big in the game. Yes, I do believe that. Mm-hmm. I disagree with that too, Sauce. I mean, they did make the playoffs and they went to the semifinals. It wasn't a complete failure, but I think the problem is that they brought that group together thinking that Russ was going to replace Chris Paul and they were going to be back in the finals or in the West Finals at least. Except that was a different unit. That was a completely different unit. And you got to take into consideration everything that went on during that time. You know, the COVID shut the season down and going into the bubble and having to run into the Lakers who were steamrolling everybody. They was rolling everybody. So Giannis can't be the best player because he's too reliant on outside factors such as Forbes outside scoring, Butler. Durant has no weaknesses. That's not true, King. That is not true. That is so not true. That is so not true. In fact, those guys that he's relying on, they enhance his game. That's what they do. They absolutely enhance his game. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he does everything at an elite level. He's an elite scorer. Now that he's put that mid-range in his game, he looks even better. He had a 20, I think he had almost 20 and 20 last night. He's an elite rebounder. He's an elite defender. You're only looking at one side of the basketball of him scoring the basketball. That's not good enough, man. That is not good enough. And that's a lazy take on your part. That's lazy. Yo. Because James did more with less. That's why I think that he's better than Kareem. Because I think he did more with less. But you can make the argument that Jabbar was better than James. When the GOAT debate starts with James, Jordan, Jabbar, it could go either way with these three guys. It could go Jabbar, James, Jordan. It could go Jordan, Jabbar, James. It could go James, Jordan, Jabbar. It could go either way. Jay Cinco, top 10 shooting guards ever. Jordan, Bryant, Wade, Harden, Drexler, Reggie Miller, Sam Jones. Yeah, think about the last three. I know a lot of people want to put Allen Iverson in that category. I just don't. Ray Allen is in that conversation. I can't believe I forgot Ray Allen. I actually want to put Ray Allen ahead of Reggie Miller. Yeah, I put Ray Allen ahead of Reggie Miller. Did Jerry West play the 2 or the 1? You can definitely make the case for Klay Thompson being the top 10 shooting guard all times. Yes, you can. Out of all the teams over the history of the NBA, which had the best starting five? Not an all-time team, a particular team. That Detroit Pistons team in 2004, Chauncey, Rip, Tayshaun, Sheed, and Ben Wallace, man. They were hell. They were hell to deal with. So if Jerry West was a 2, he's definitely in the top 10 2 guards of all time. No doubt. I'm not sleeping on David Thompson. He just didn't do it long enough. That's all, Robbie. I ain't sleeping on David Thompson. David Thompson was elite. To give you an idea of how good David Thompson was, right? To give you an idea of how good David Thompson was, when Michael Jordan was introduced into the Hall of Fame, David Thompson was the one he asked him to introduce him. That's who Jordan's guy was. He loved that dude. So, absolutely. Right. I don't know if it's wrong, but I mean, I know who James Harden is, man, and I know what he's done over the course of his career when it mattered the most. Like I saw him in the West Finals in 2015 where he looked really good, but then it started going the other way, and it's been going that way ever since 2016. It's been going that way. I do not have Jerry West as a top 3 shooting guard. I don't think he was better than Jordan. I don't think he was better than Bryant, and I don't think he was better than Dwayne Wade. No, I do not. Mm-mm. The way Curry is playing right now, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think they got a better shot, Dave. Yes, I do. I hated to see Aldridge leave to go to San Antonio, and I understand why he did it. He got sold. It looked like that team had peaked when in reality they didn't. They were on their way to getting better. CJ didn't become who he was becoming yet. And they sold Aldridge on the idea, him being from Texas, that you could be the heir apparent to Tim Duncan. Leonard was down there, and we're gonna not only get back to not only are we gonna get back to winning championships, it's gonna be because of you. And he had been in Portland for 7 or 8 years at that point. So, man, that wasn't a hard sell. But I would have loved to have seen him stay in Portland. I understand why he left, though. I do. Do you think of the players that you think we will say only if they didn't play in the LeBron's era or the Warriors era? The real Zayte. James Harden is one of those guys. James Harden is one of those guys. DeMar DeRozan is one of those guys that will say that if they got caught up in the James and Warriors era. Who else? There's a number of different guys. I do, Jillian. I do think that Jason Kidd is doing a really good job. It's going to take some time because what he's trying to do is he's trying to get Luka out of that mode of being a dominant scorer and being more of a facilitator and a distributor. Because with him doing that, that enhances that team, and it's going to get that tag off of him as him just being a scorer. And his team is going to get better. And when his team gets better, that enhances his legacy. So, and I think Jason Kidd is doing a really good job of getting him out of that. Scottie Pippen was a better player than Dwayne Wade. Yes, sir. That is not accurate, Steady. I love Kawhi Leonard. Anybody that you talk to anybody that you talk to that knows me, I think Kawhi Leonard, when he's healthy, he's a top 5 player in the game. No doubt about it. I think he's a top 5 player in the game. I think he's today, if he retired today, I think he's a top 10 small forward all time. No doubt in my mind. I love Kawhi Leonard. I think he found himself in some great situations, whether he was with San Antonio or he was with Toronto. And I hate the fact that he left Toronto because I think that would have just enhanced his legacy. When I think about if he comes back to Toronto for the 1920 season, I think at minimum, Toronto's in. I don't know if they win it again, but I think at minimum, they're back in the finals. At minimum. And not only are they back in the finals, I think they make a run for years to come. So, I can still make the argument that James is a top 10 player. No doubt. I don't think he's playing as a top 5 player right now. No, but he's still a top 10 player. Yes, sir. That's a fact, John. And it does help that Chicago Bulls team that he's on that he's on right now is better than that San Antonio team, both offensively and defensively. That San Antonio team is in rebuild, complete rebuild. So better mid-range, CP3 or DeRozan. DeRozan is the master mid-range guy. Who's sleeping on Phoenix, Guru? Ain't nobody sleeping on Phoenix. Who's sleeping on them? They was in the finals last year. Where do you think that they should have been? You think they should be the favorites going into the season to go back to the finals? Considering what everybody else was coming back with, you thought that they should have been the favorites? Or where did you have them? Why is Pippen called Scotty? Because that's his name, Steady. Let's stop the conversation for a second. Let me talk to Trinidad. Trinidad, you preaching to the choir, brother. Why don't teams use G League players and use undrafted players? There is a lot of really good players that can be great. That's why it's called the developmental league. You got these guys, turn them into players. And the reason why they don't do it is because everybody is so worried about right now, when in reality, you might have a 2-guard on your G League team that could be an all-NBA performer if you just developed him, just like they do in the minor leagues. They got a third baseman. The Yankees got a third baseman in their minor league system who's going to turn into an all-star. And they cool waiting on him. They're good waiting on this guy. This is fact what you're talking about, Trinidad. That's not your opinion. That's a fact. First of all, let me get with my man Keyshawn because this dude swear up and down. I can't for the life of me understand his logic. I can't understand it. You talking to me like Kawhi Leonard got on a team in Toronto and he made them great. You are aware that they won 59 games the year before and they were in first place in the Eastern Conference, except they ran into the boogeyman. And the fact that the boogeyman is now gone and you take Scottie Pippen at his peak, Scottie Pippen, the all-league defender, the 20-a-game Scottie Pippen, that guy. You too busy looking at him scoring 16 a game, which over the end of his career, that's when his numbers went down. But we talking about Scottie Pippen, right? We talking about Scottie Pippen at his peak. You don't think, I'm not going to say you don't think. I absolutely think that he could have definitely helped them get to the finals and win it. You must be out your mind talking about Scottie Pippen like he was just, meh. That's kind of what it looks like when you're playing with arguably the best player to ever play. And you too busy looking at stats and highlights. Just so you know, I was around when this dude was playing. I want you to answer a question for me. In your lifetime, since we're on the subject of this right now, in your lifetime, tell me what top 5 player played with another top 5 player. Because I already had this discussion with my boy OG. I already did it. I already had it. So you tell me. That's interesting because KD and Curry never made first team All NBA at the same time. That's interesting. Wow, that's really interesting. LeBron and AD didn't. You can make the argument for LeBron and AD. Absolutely, you can. Even though KD and Curry didn't make first team All NBA at the same time. Jordan and Pippen did, though. I do know that for a fact. I know for a fact that Jordan and Pippen did. I dig Serge Ibaka playing in the G League right now. And that's. I actually wish that. Yes, Kobe Bryant was top 5 when Shaq was on the team in the 02-03 season. That is not true. And in the 03-04 season, that is not true. Kobe Bryant was absolutely a top 5 player. He was 30 a game. He was first team All Defense, and he was first team All NBA. Kobe Bryant was absolutely a top 5 player. No question about that. But as I was saying about Serge, I actually wish that NBA teams did this more like baseball does it with their minor league system, where you send a guy down to the G League to get his legs up under him, to get some run, to get him back acclimated to what they're doing, as opposed to sitting him out for 6 to 8 months or sitting him out for 2. Like Zion should be playing in the G League right now. He absolutely could be doing that to get himself in shape. No doubt about that. He could be doing that right now. Why isn't he doing that right now? Mm-hmm. You don't know anything about Scottie Pippen. You just don't. And it's fine that you don't. It's fine that you don't. You're the guy. You know who you are? True Hoops is the guy. That's who that is. True Hoops. True Hoops, you're the guy who in 30 years, the guys that we talk about now, you're going to be the guy. Get off my lawn. That guy, you're going to be that guy. You're not going to be able to have the conversation when in 25 years they start talking about this guy, and this guy. You're not going to want to. You're going to be that guy. You're not going to want to have that conversation. You're not going to be the guy who's able to transfer into the future and see the future of basketball. You're not going to be that guy. And the reason why you're not going to be that guy is because, number one, you don't study the game. Number two, you don't pay attention to why people are great. And because you don't pay attention to why people are great, you stay stagnant. So you look at a guy like Scottie Pippen and you only see 16 a game for his career. You have no idea the impact that he had on that Bulls team and how good he was. You have no idea. None whatsoever. I don't see why they don't do it more, Chris. And not only that, you can monitor these guys when they're playing in your G League system. You can monitor them. If you're worrying about somebody getting hurt, right? If you're worried about somebody getting hurt, they're going to get hurt. But if you're sending somebody down to the G League to get their legs up under them, just like Alex Rodriguez or Derek Jeter or Mike Trout, who, I don't know, he screwed up his hamstring and now he hasn't played in 3 weeks and now he's got to go get reps and he goes to their AAA ball club. They ain't worrying about him getting hurt. They worrying about him getting reps and getting himself sharp again. So they send him down to the minor leagues. I really wish that they would do that more in pro basketball. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban knows how to take care of his people. I've always been a big fan of Mark Cuban. I'm a big fan of Usiri up with the Raptors. He knows how to build a team. Alexander with the Warriors. He also knows how to build a team. Who else? I like what they're doing with the Knicks. I do like what they're doing with the Knicks. Excuse me. I love what they're doing there. Mickey Harrison is a big time owner because Mickey Harrison is the guy who he lets the people who work under him do their job. Mickey Harrison is the guy. Just tell me what it's going to cost. And he trusts the guys who work for him, like Pat Riley and those guys. He trusts those guys. So absolutely, those are a few guys that I can think of off the top of my head. Tyler Hero or Jordan Poole. I don't know, man. I think that honor goes to Ja right now. I mean, I can see Tyler Hero doing what he's doing, but I think that Most Improved award will go to Ja. Mm-hmm. He did lead the Bulls in scoring in 1993-94. He led the Bulls in scoring. He averaged 23 a game. Not only did he lead the Bulls in scoring, he was second on the team in rebounding. He was second on the team in blocks. He led the Bulls in assists, and he led the Bulls in steals. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. When I tell you that, and then when Jordan came back, the year that Jordan came back and played a full season, which was the 95-96 season, when Scottie Pippen made first team All-NBA, and he was a first team All-League defender, he was 19-7. And why was he 19-7? He was 19-7 because there was a guy who just came back on the group that started averaging 30 a game. So he took a back seat to him. He averaged 20 a game twice in the playoffs with Jordan. 20 a game twice. I definitely think you can make the argument that Pop is a top 3 coach of all time. Because Pop's ability to incorporate your strengths into the fabric of what the team is doing Pop is the guy who he lets you do what you're good at. And whatever you're not good at, just like Jerry Sloan, whatever you're good at, we're going to do that. What you're not good at, we're not doing that. No. Mm-mm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. So no gym for me tonight. I work out outside, yo. That's my I go down to the coast and I go get my exercise down there. And it works for me. I haven't been in the gym in maybe 5 years. I haven't been in the gym in probably 5 years. I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of calisthenics. I do a lot of push-ups. I do a lot of pull-ups. I don't work with weights anymore because I weigh what I want to weigh. I do a lot of calisthenics, a lot of push-ups, a lot of pull-ups, a lot of dips, a lot of bench jumps, a lot of plyometric stuff like that. So that's how I keep myself fit. And I eat different too, so that helps. I am going to watch the Heat game tonight. Yes, sir, I am. Flat-footed judo. I'm 6'3". Yes, sir. Matter of fact, let me see. Oh, it's on right now. Perfect. You know that. It depends when you do it, Jillian. I go get my work done early. So, like, let's say in the summertime, I go get my work done early. I go get my work done before 10 o'clock. I'll go get my work done in the evening. But I to do it in the middle of the day between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock, that's tough, especially in the summertime, particularly in the summertime. Now, when it's the wintertime or it's the fall, it's not that bad because it's a lot cooler. So, nah, and I don't hoop no more. And the reason why I don't hoop no more is because I can't do what I used to be able to do. And I can't get out there with guys who I know, for lack of a better term, I'll bust your ass when I can't do what I used to be able to do. I can't get out there with guys like that. Yeah, I work on this right here. This is what I do. This is my job right here. That's a good question, Adam. I still haven't gotten to the bottom of what they're trying to do there, because how do you monitor tampering? Like so, for example, Adam, if you and me are boys and you play for New Orleans and I play for the Miami Heat, I mean, when it's the summertime and you play the two guard and I play the power forward and we need a two guard, how can they monitor me not talking to you? You my man, right? They can't they can't stop you and me from talking. So how would that work? I don't, and not only how would that work, how can you prove that? Well, it hasn't started yet, but they're in the prelims of it. I was in my late 30s when I realized that I just couldn't do it like I used to. I was like, I'm good. Thank you, Jillian. I'm glad I was able to help. No doubt. Glad I was able to help you. I'm probably going to flip back and forth between this Washington Heat game and the Charlotte Atlanta game. I'm going to flip back and forth between those two. No, I wasn't, Chris. I didn't really bother too much with that 3-on-3. Not to say that it was whack, because it wasn't. I ain't saying it was whack at all. I wasn't a fan of it. Right. And I do understand that tampering it's about the GMs and the owners and the executives, right? But how does it get to that point? So again, Adam, like I was talking to Adam, so it's the summertime and Adam is in New Orleans and I play for Miami and we need a two guard. And I'm talking to Adam like, yo, we played together in the past and we were good together. And you might be able to talk to your agent to get you moved from New Orleans to Miami. Now, they can't really prove that you and me were talking about that. So OG, did you see the LeBron hype when he was in high school? And what did you think about him? I thought that it was incredible, to be honest with you. This is one of the reasons why I think he's the best to ever do it, because I had never seen, and I was around when when Chris Webber was in high school. I was around when guys like Christian Laettner were in high school, big time players, Len Bias. I was around when these guys were in high school, and I had never seen that kind of hype and that kind of pressure around the guy. All of their games were televised. If you can imagine in 2021, every high school basketball game if you can imagine 2021, LeBron James is playing in high school today. Every last one of his games is on TV. Every one of his games was on ESPN. Every one of them. It was incredible. Yeah, absolutely. I did hear about that. It was basically like the next day. Like once free agency started, they already had a contract on the table for these dudes, which suggested to me that it was already settled that these dudes were going there. It was already settled. But I mean, Lonzo was a restricted free agent. It wasn't like he was. It wasn't like it was a situation where he was with the Hornets and he was in the second year of a 5-year contract. And if anything, the Clippers should be charged with tampering because, I mean, I know Leonard was a free agent, but how was that not tampering when Paul George was under contract? He had just signed his deal in Oklahoma City. So Allen Iverson, because he was around longer. The new Star Wars series, I only watched the first one. And the reason why I only watched the first one, and I'm kind of weird this way, I only watched the first one because what is her name? I forgot the chick's name. This was 10 years ago when it came out. Well, when I watched the movie, and spoiler alert for any of you guys who haven't seen it, when I watched the movie and in the end, she just starts using the Force, I was ready to walk out of the theater because anybody who watches Star Wars knows you can't just use the Force. You have to have some sort of training in the Force. So when she did that, I was like, what the hell? Can't just use the Force. That's like me sitting here talking to you guys and then just break out into my inner ninja and start doing backflips. Like, wait a minute, what the hell? And when she just used the Force, I was like, what the hell? You can't do that. And I was out after that. I know that there were a lot of people was like, well, maybe she was related to Luke Skywalker. I didn't even look to find out. I was so hot. I was like, what the hell? You can't use the Force. So to answer your question, I haven't seen one in quite a while. That 17-18 Warriors team is the 12 Heat team. Wow. So that's the team that beat Oklahoma City. That 18 Warriors team that beat Cleveland, they're the 2012 Heat team that beat Oklahoma City. Hmm. Were they? Were the sequels terrible? Hmm. So I'm kind of glad that I stepped off. I mean, I know we're switching the subject to superheroes, but I do have to tell you, I'm a big superhero fan, and I get into this discussion with with people that I know, and my brother and I have had this discussion in the past where is Superman a real superhero? Is Captain America a superhero? And before you answer that, we have to define what exactly is a superhero. What is the criteria to being a superhero? Batman is not a superhero. Batman is a rich guy with gadgets. Him and Iron Man are the same guys. No. And the reason why I say that is because the criteria for being a superhero, you have to have some sort of superhuman ability. Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, you have to have some sort of superhuman ability. Superman, is he a superhero? Well, Superman, you're from another planet, so, and he's immortal. Go do your homework, my man. Mitch Richmond was 27 a game, 26 a game. Not 27, 26 a game for 7 straight years. Yes, sir. Go do your homework, my man. No, that just go do your homework. You keep telling me no, he was not. Go do your homework. Go find out. Go do your homework. Mm-hmm. Yo, excuse me for 1 second, guys. I'll be right with you. I don't want to get thrown off the track here, and I'd like to continue what we're talking about. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. One, two, three, four, five, six. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From the 1990 season to the 1997 season, add those numbers up and then average out 7 years. What do you come up with? Because I said I came up with around 26 a game. So that's what I came up with. And I ain't the smartest dude, but I do know how to add. Westbrook over Tracy McGrady. Mm-hmm. He didn't like Dwight Howard being called Superman. No, he did not. No, he did not. Oh, I stand on that, Mag. To be honest with you, I stand on that. The coolest superhero, I mean, the coolest NBA nickname, I used to think it was Air Jordan because I thought that was so dope. But to this day, it's the Diesel. I think that's so dope. What's your name? Dr. J. What's your name? Magic. The Diesel. Oh, that's super dope. They call me the Diesel. I love that. When the Miami Heat, Slim Reaper is dope too. They used to call him Durantula, which I thought was dope too, but they ended up changing that. Greek Freak is nice too. Hey, Ian, don't start it. Don't start it, Ian. I swear, do not start it. Oh my God. We can't do that. We can't. We can't. We have to come up with something else. We cannot call this dude Cum Bucket. We can't. We got to call him something else, man. That's not going to work. Oh my God. No, we can't. We can't call him that. We got to come up with something else. Come bucket. No. You got to come up with something else, yo. We can't call him that. We can't. We can't. We got to come up with something else. That's not going to work. We got to find something else to call him. No. No, sports. We can't call him that. What's up, Neon? How you doing, brother? On every, not on so many levels, Almighty. On every level. On every level, that is wrong. We can't call him that. No, we can't. Somebody asked me that, Jillian, about making some merch. This is really good right here. Trademarking it. I never really thought about it. But that's even worse, Cameron. Come basket. Same thing. Nothing. Jude. Nothing. Nothing. Whatever name you come up with, right? Whatever name you come up with, it cannot include come. It can't. Get it out of here. Oh my God. No, it's not instinct. We gotta stop calling him that. Yo, we can't. We gotta come up with something different. Excuse me. That is nuts right there. Oh my God. Takeover, what's up, Ty? You good? I'm just so waiting for the Miami Heat to trade for a legit 5-man. I'm just waiting for the Heat to trade for a legit 5. No, he is not, Ahmad. No, he isn't. If the Heat trade for a legit 5-man and you can move Bam to his natural position of the 4, he'd be a better scorer. He'd be a better passer. I think he'd be a better rebounder if they actually got him a legit 5. He doesn't start, though. And he would be even better. He's not a bad rebounder. He's actually a really good rebounder, but I think he would be even better if he got moved to his natural position, which is the 4. I don't think that there would be an adjustment period for him. I think that he would segue right into that. When did I ever say that Gary Payton was a top 5 guard? Why are you putting words in my mouth? Mm-mm. My favorite superhero is the Incredible Hulk. To this day, I just don't piss me off because it's gonna get ugly. Oh, I love that. When I think about Captain America, he's just a dude on steroids. That's all he is. Superman, you from another planet. Valanciunas would be great. Valanciunas would absolutely be awesome. Oh, man. What would they have to give up to get Valanciunas? He would be perfect for them. I do like Wolverine. I do like Wolverine. I don't know if I give up Lowry, but outside of Bam, buckets, Lowry, and Duncan, anything else you want, you can have it. Valanciunas would be great in Charlotte, too. He would be awesome in Charlotte. He'd be great in Washington, too. He'd be great there. Like I said, Jillian, Bam, Lowry, buckets, and Duncan. Those guys are off limits. For Valanciunas, those guys are off limits. Everybody else, you can have him. Oh, he would be awesome in Dallas. Yes, he would. There's your meat and potatoes guy right there. Now Porzingis, you might have to give up Porzingis to get him, though. No way you getting him. Yeah, you might have to give up Porzingis to get him. Yeah, I'm giving up Hero before I give up Duncan because we can make up what Hero does. Valanciunas being the meat and potatoes guy that he is, he'd be perfect for what we're doing. Perfect. I give up. Hell yeah, I would absolutely give him up. I'm not any of those fans. I'm not a Jazz fan or am I a Heat fan. I dig Rudy though, and I dig Bam. I dig Duncan as a long ball shooter. That's why I watch the Miami Heat like I do. The Warriors would have to anything that don't involve Steph. Everything else is on the table. To get Giannis, everything else is on the table. Minus Steph, everything else is on the table. That's 20. That's 22-6 from one guy, and I'm gaining 20-15 in the starting lineup. And then what I'm gonna get off that bench, right? Because depending on what I have to give up, because I'm probably gonna have to give up PJ Tucker. Who would I have to give up for Valanciunas? Yes. Yes. Clay too. Everything. Whatever for Giannis, Steph is the only thing. Steph's the only guy that's off limits. Everybody else is available. Who you want? Would the Warriors give up Clay for Giannis? Yeah, I think they would. To get Giannis? Yeah, I think they do it. Yeah. I absolutely think that they would do it. You something else, John. That was good, though. That was good. How many guys in the league today are truly untouchable? That's good, Cameron. Let's see. I think Giannis is off limits. I think Steph is off limits. I think KD is off limits. I think Bam is off limits. I think Joker is off limits. I think Joel Embiid is off limits. Yes, I think Luka is off limits also. I don't think Tatum is off limits. I don't. I think that they would consider depending on what the price was. If I was a fan of any team in particular, I enjoy watching the Heat. I enjoy watching Utah too. Because I live in South Florida, probably Miami. And they got a really good team. Yeah. I don't think LaMelo was off limits. He might be their franchise player, but if there was something on the table where If Ja was available, if Memphis made Ja available, I think Jordan would do that. If Atlanta made Trae Young available, I think Jordan would do that. I don't think that I don't think that they would pass on that. I do think Embiid is untouchable. I do. I think they building that unit around him. We can't move Ben and then move Embiid too. No, that can't happen because we went to the bottom of the East already. We already went to the bottom of the East. We ain't doing it again. We got to tear this whole thing up and start all over again. Hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think AD is untouchable. No, I do not. I do not think AD is untouchable. I think that if the right offer came, Anthony Davis would absolutely be shipped. If Utah called up the Lakers and asked for Anthony Davis in exchange for Rudy Gobert, which they wouldn't do that, but if they did, the Lakers would absolutely do that. I don't think Harden is untouchable. No. And the reason why I don't think Harden is untouchable is because Irv isn't untouchable. So I do not think that Harden is untouchable. No, I do not. I think Book is untouchable. Yes, I do think that. I think Book is untouchable. Now they're not moving off Durant. No. So all right. So think about the playoff teams. All right. You got Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia, Miami, Boston, Atlanta, New York, both Brooklyn and the Knicks. You got Charlotte. Okay, so that's 9 teams right there. Of those teams, who are the guys on those teams that are untouchable? So you start with Milwaukee. Who is untouchable on that unit? I think Giannis is untouchable. I think Middleton could be moved for the right price. It would be. I don't think they do it right now, but I think that they would move Middleton for the right price. So we'll go from there to the Bulls. Who on the Bulls is untouchable? Ball, DeRozan, Zach, Vooch. Then you got Philadelphia. Who on Philadelphia is untouchable? I think Embiid is untouchable. Miami. Who on Miami is untouchable? Depends on who calls. Because I think Bam is untouchable. Let's see. We got Boston. Who on Boston is untouchable? I don't think any of them dudes are untouchable. Any of them. Depending on who calls, and Jason Tatum is my favorite player under 25. Then there's Atlanta. Who on Atlanta is untouchable? I think Trae Young is untouchable. Then we go from Atlanta to the Knicks. Who on the Knicks is untouchable? I don't think nobody on the Knicks is untouchable. Nobody. Then we go Charlotte. Who on Charlotte is untouchable? I don't think anybody on Charlotte is untouchable. We move from Charlotte to Indiana. Nobody on that group is untouchable. From Indiana to the Raptors, nobody is untouchable on that unit. From the Raptors to Cleveland, nobody is untouchable on that unit. Brooklyn, I think KD is the only guy on that group that's untouchable. Washington, who is untouchable on that group? I don't think anybody on that group is untouchable. Nobody. I don't think anybody on that group is untouchable. So then I think about the Western Conference, right? And I'm going in order of who I thought in terms of playoff teams. I'm going in that order. So before the season started, I had the Lakers, Utah, Denver, Phoenix, Warriors, Dallas, Portland, Memphis. All right. Those are my 8 teams in the playoffs. So we'll start at the top. On the Lakers, who's untouchable? James. Did I have the Clippers? I had the Clippers in Memphis. I had the Clippers in Memphis fighting it out for the 8th spot. So James is untouchable with the Lakers. Utah, who's untouchable on that team? I think Rudy is the only guy on that team that's untouchable. Denver, who's untouchable on that team? I think Joker is the only guy on that group that's untouchable. Then we got Phoenix. Who on that group is untouchable? Who on that Phoenix group is untouchable? I think D-Book. I don't think they're moving off of him. Then you got the Warriors. Who's untouchable on that Warriors group? I think Steph is the only guy. And we got Dallas. Who's the only untouchable guy on that group? Luka. I'm taking Portland out and I'm putting the Clippers in there. On that Clipper unit, who is untouchable on that Clipper unit? I don't know if Paul George is untouchable. I think Leonard is the guy that's untouchable on that group. And not because he's hurt. And then there's Memphis. Does Memphis have anybody that's untouchable? I don't think so. Does Portland have anybody that's untouchable? I don't think so. Does Minnesota have anybody that's untouchable? I don't think so. Sacramento, they don't have nobody that's untouchable. So Draymond is not untouchable. What am I 100% wrong about? Yeah, I think it's about that time. What's today? Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. I'll see you guys real soon because we get the podcast started back next week again. So I'll see you guys early next week. And we'll get back to it. But as always, it's good to see y'all. So until then, take it light, but take it.